Hi, this is Congressman Thomas Massie here. We've got about a week to act. I want to let you know what's going on in Congress as far as gun control goes. You've heard a lot of ideas being floated in the news, raising the legal age to buy a long gun, for instance, or a new assault weapons ban. Any number of bad things have been mentioned, but I wanted to boil it down for you. What's actually going to happen, the gun control play they're going to run here in Congress, is the one that I unfortunately predicted back in December. Remember back in December, they put the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity on the floor, and I warned folks when they put inside of it a bill called Fix NICS that they were sneaking into it gun control that was endorsed by Senator Feinstein and Senator Schumer. Well, unfortunately, that warning has turned out to be true. I want to play you a little bit of my prediction. This is back in December. I did a podcast with Daniel Horowitz at Conservative Review.
Now, don't get me wrong. They're not going to do this without some cover. They will wait for the next crisis. They'll wait for the next shooting where the NICS system failed.
So here we are. We're at the next crisis. Now, our leadership promised members here in Congress that they would not bring the Fix NICS bill, the gun control bill, to the floor if they didn't at least bring the reciprocity bill with it the same way they did it previously. And 40 members of Congress thanked them for their promise and then sent them a letter that said, we write to communicate that we will oppose any attempt to bring Fix NICS to the floor of the House for a vote unless it includes language substantially similar to or identical to that of H.R. 38. H.R. 38 was the reciprocity bill. See, I told all these guys they were getting set up by leadership that the reciprocity bill was just a Trojan horse and that this Fix NICS bill would come back without reciprocity attached to it. Now, why is this so bad? What's wrong with the Fix NICS bill? Well, there's a problem at the VA right now. I've heard from people that work at the VA, and I've heard from veterans who've encountered this problem. If you tell the VA that somebody else manages your money, they can take away your right to own a gun. They put you in the NICS database, but it also, not only can you not go to a store and buy a gun, it's illegal for you to possess a gun or even to possess ammunition. And veterans are getting thrown into this system every day. They're having their right to own a gun stripped merely because they say they don't manage their own finances. This is an Obama-era policy that was put into place, and it's part of, it stems from the last time they tried to fix NICS in 2007, 2008. They passed a bill called the NICS Improvement Amendments Act, which metastasized into the Obama gun control plan at the VA. Now, my colleagues in Congress, they know the problem exists at the VA. They're totally ignoring it now. Here's how I know they know. Because a year ago, almost to the week, in March, we passed a bill called, it was 1181, the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act, that was going to fix the problem at the VA where veterans were being deprived of the Second Amendment rights without due process, no judicial review. Does that sound familiar? Well, it passed the House. Almost every Republican voted for it. Some Democrats voted for it. And then it stalled in the Senate. Now, that's the problem that exists. That's the problem that every member of Congress knows about because they saw this debate last year. And that's the problem that's being ignored, and that's the problem that's going to get worse if they pass Fix NICS. What Fix NICS does, this has been introduced by Cornyn in the Senate, and it has Feinstein and Schumer's full support. In fact, they're co-sponsors. What Fix NICS does is it throws money at the states to put more names into the database, and it penalizes people, workers at the VA, if they don't rigorously turn in these veterans' names into the NICS database. Now, they're pretending this has something to do with the shooting in Florida. It has nothing to do with the shooting in Florida. I just came from a briefing given by the deputy director of the FBI, where they explained how the FBI got all these tips and then ignored them. They dropped the ball. Folks, those folks that are working at the FBI, they need canned, they need fired, they shouldn't have a job right now. And Fix NICS doesn't even do that. It wouldn't even do anything to take away their bonuses for their lack of performance there. So Fix NICS Anybody that's being honest about this will tell you would do nothing to stop the school shooting that happened in Florida. It's an unserious solution. If you want a serious one, how about my Safe Students Act that I've introduced every term that I've been in Congress? It's H.R. 34 this year, would repeal the Federal Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990. That's a serious solution. Until we start doing things like that, we're just advertising our children as being vulnerable in these schools, in these gun-free zones, because as you well know, 98% of mass public shootings happen in a gun-free zone. I say put our kids in the 2% where they're safe instead of the 98% where they are vulnerable. Now, am I just, being Chicken Little here? Am I saying something that's not going to happen? No, our leadership has announced they are bringing fixed NICS to the floor next week. That's why we only have about a week. They're going to sugarcoat it. They're going to put like a gel capsule around this gun control bill. The sugarcoating is H.R. 4909. It's called the Stop School Violence Act. It reauthorizes some 1968 program. Look, if this program worked, we wouldn't have had any mass school shootings since 1968. They know this is an unserious bill. But what they're doing again is they're wrapping this horrible gun control, fixed NICS, that deprives veterans of the right to keep and bear arms after they've served our country, they put their lives on the line. It takes that horrible bill, fixed NICS, and it puts a little wrapper around it that's called the Stop School Violence Act. This is very disingenuous because the Stop School Violence Act won't stop school violence. The gun control bill that they're hiding in the Stop School Violence Act won't stop school violence. And they're bringing it to the floor next week. I need your help. Let Congress know you do not want gun control. This is not why you put Republicans in charge of the House, in charge of the Senate, and in the White House. You didn't put us in here to pass gun control. And that's all you're going to get next week unless somebody convinces these guys to stop.